Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into one of the most famous survival stories ever told. You know it, I know it, it's the thirsty crow. But today, we're looking at it through a completely different lens. We're going to break it down as a literal masterclass in problem solving, resourcefulness, and honestly, emotional resilience. Because this isn't just some simple fable, it's actually a step-by-step blueprint for overcoming seemingly impossible odds. We often just dismiss these stories, but they've survived for centuries for a reason. They encode some incredibly effective human survival tactics. The source text sets the baseline right away, and wow, it does not sugarcoat a thing. He was going to die for want of water. We absolutely have to start here to grasp the sheer gravity of this situation. We're not talking about a mild inconvenience or a frustrating afternoon. The crow is facing ultimate, life or death stakes. His biological clock is ticking loudly, his energy is almost entirely depleted from searching, and his margin for error literally zero. If he makes one wrong move or wastes calories on the wrong action, it's completely over. So it really begs the question driving our whole analysis today. How do you overcome an impossible, life-threatening obstacle? Think about it. When you are quite literally out of options, your energy is fading and you're running out of time, what does the mind do to survive? How do you force a breakthrough when your environment just absolutely refuses to cooperate? Keep that fundamental question in your head as we walk through the exact mechanics of this journey. Let's get into Section 1, the life or death search. This timeline perfectly maps out a completely devastating emotional roller coaster. First, you've got this unknown duration of searching entirely in vain. Just imagine the mounting panic and the physical toll of that thirst building up. Then, boom, a sudden spike. He finds a picture with great delight. But really stop and think about the sheer cruelty of that middle phase. That delight lasts for a microsecond? Because it immediately crashes into phase 3, the immediate aftermath of realizing the water is too low. It's a massive, agonizing spike of false hope, crashing right back down to crushing despair. Which brings us right to Section 2, the unreachable water. You see, finding the pitcher wasn't actually the solution at all. Honestly, it was basically a trap, a really complex physical puzzle masquerading as salvation. He finally spots it, flies over with that great delight, but then discovers there's barely any water, and it's resting stubbornly at the very bottom. The environment literally handed him exactly what he needed to survive, but cruelly locked it behind an impenetrable physical barrier. The water was so low that the crow could not drink it. The frustration here is just palpable. Think about the deep psychological toll of this moment. The sensory frustration is immense. He can see the water, he can probably smell it. It's literally inches from his beak. But because it's too low, that picture might as well be a mirage. And you know, having the illusion of success dangled in front of you is often way harder to deal with and far more draining than outright failure. It actively tempts you to waste the tiny bit of energy you have left. So, how do you react to that kind of intense frustration? That leads us to Section 3, trial, error, and failure. Notice his initial, totally panic-driven reactions. Attempt 1 is just a brute effort to break the pitcher. When that doesn't work, we get attempt 2, try again and again to overturn it. Both of these failed hypotheses rely entirely on physical aggression. He's thirsty, he's panicked, he's desperate, and he's basically trying to force the environment to yield through sheer violence. He's attacking the problem directly, head-on, instead of adapting to the parameters of the puzzle in front of him. And the result? A giant 0. 0 water gained. The text explicitly tells us he tried again and again, but completely failed. The pitcher is too heavy, the bird is way too weak, and his brute force methodology is entirely useless. Repeating a failed brute force strategy guarantees death in this scenario. Every single time he strikes that heavy clay, he's burning precious calories he absolutely cannot afford to lose. If he keeps going down this path, the story ends right here. But he doesn't. He pivots. Let's look at Section 4, the pebbles strategy. He looked around and saw some pebbles lying nearby. This right here, this is the absolute turning point of our explainer. Let's pause and appreciate this, because it's the exact moment he stops panicking. He consciously abandons brute force. He takes a breath, deliberately steps back from his desperate fixation on the water, and actually observes his broader environment. He notices the pebbles. It's a massive mental shift from physical dominance to calculated environmental manipulation, a total game changer. Let's walk through this process because it is incredibly disciplined. Step 1, look around. Assess what assets are available. Step 2, take pebbles one by one. Notice that phrasing from the text, one by one. This isn't a frantic rush to shove rocks in a jar. It's methodical. Step 3, drop them into the pitcher. Step 4, the water reaches the neck. By systematically displacing the volume inside the pitcher with solid mass, he forces the water upward. It's a rhythm of survival, right? Drop a pebble, wait, assess. Drop another pebble, wait, assess. Repeating this highly disciplined loop until the water finally rises to meet him.
And here is the absolute triumph. The water reaches the neck of the pitcher. The crow drinks to his heart's content. Remember that loudly ticking biological clock from the very beginning? He completely stopped it. He satiated a life-threatening thirst purely because he pivoted away from brute force. And then he flies away successfully. Absolute victory. Not achieved by being the strongest or the fastest, but through patience, hyper-observation, and a radical change in strategic thinking.
Which brings us to our final section, where there is a will. Where there is a will, there is a way. It's the ultimate takeaway directly from our source material. Yeah, it's a phrase we hear all the time, but examining the actual mechanics of the story gives it so much more profound weight. Will isn't just about trying really, really hard to break a pitcher that obviously isn't going to break. Will is the mental fortitude to refuse to give up when brute force fails. It's the intellectual flexibility to pause, look at some seemingly useless pebbles on the ground, and engineer a brand new path to survival out of thin air. His adaptable willpower literally and metaphorically raised the water level.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Think about the impossible, deeply frustrating obstacles in your own life where the water feels just out of reach. What pebbles can you drop one by one to slowly raise the water level on your own challenges? Stop trying to break the pitcher. Start looking around for the pebbles and put in that disciplined work. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I really hope it changes the way you look at your next big challenge.